The round of 16 is finally here, and I'm predicting who I think will go through and who will go out. For the first game, the Netherlands versus the USA. I don't know if many people are going to go the same predictions as me, because the Netherlands have a very good team. They have some very strong players. They have world-class players like Van Dijk, De Jong, and many others. But if you actually put them side by side, I feel like the US has some stronger positions. You got the midfield specifically, where they do, for me, have a few better players. Like you got McKennie, Adams, and then the attack, you got Pulisic. You can compare him maybe to Bergwijn. Is he playing for them? I don't know, but for my prediction for round of 16, I am actually going to go for the US. 2-1, I'm going to say. I'm going to go for 2-1 for the US, which means they'll get to the quarterfinals. It's a bold prediction, I know that, and I know many people probably wouldn't agree, but I like the dark horses. This World Cup has had a lot of results you wouldn't expect. And for the second one, I mean, I'm not going to lie, this is pretty simple. Argentina versus Australia. Whilst Australia have actually had a very good World Cup for them, and I'm actually very happy for them because it's good to see the underdogs do bits, but they're against Argentina. And Argentina are very, very good. Even though they lost to Saudi Arabia, I think they've now found their form. And when you got Messi and you got other players to back you up, I don't think it's really a conversation. And it's definitely not as close as the US versus the Netherlands is. So for that one, I'm definitely going to go for Argentina. 4-0 Argentina. Messi will score 2, get 1 assist, and Lautaro Martinez will score 2 as well. For the third game in the round of 16 is Japan versus Croatia. You got the proper underdogs. You got Japan, and then you got Croatia, who pulled through at the end. It wasn't very pretty, but they did manage to get through. Probably should have got knocked out if it wasn't for Lukaku, but it was terrible. And for this one, I don't know if it would be much of a surprise because the Croatia team's a bit old now. Even though they've got a lot of experience, but at the same time, I think maybe they're at the point now where they're a bit too old. And Japan, they seem hungry, man. I mean, maybe I'm just basing it off the 2 games where they just made the insane comebacks, but I fancy them, and I'm going to go for Japan for the win. I'm going to say they win on penalties. It's going to be 1-1, and then Japan are going to win on penalties. And for this one, you got the favourites, Brazil, who, yeah, I mean, based off a lot of things, they will be everyone's favourites for this game. And Korea, similar to Japan, they made an insane comeback in the end, and they scored in the last minute. And I'm backing them. I'd love to see Korea versus Japan, but there's no way Brazil are losing to Korea. So for this one, I'm going to go for 2-0 Brazil. Don't think it'll be a big score, but I do think they'll have too much for Korea. And then this side, this is where it gets tasty for the Englishman. The first game in this section of the knockouts, England versus Senegal. I think this will be the tightest game in terms of the differences between the teams' levels, like Netherlands versus the US, Argentina versus Australia, and the other ones. I think there's the smallest difference between these two teams. So I think Senegal have the biggest chance to actually beat England out of the other ones. But I am going to go for England because Senegal are missing their best player in Mane. They're also missing Idrissa Gana Gueye, who is important for them and a very good player as well. Yeah, for England, for this one, I'm going to go for England. And I don't know what the score will be. Let's say 3-1. 3-1. I reckon we'll score a few and we'll probably concede because our defence, even though it's done quite well in this tournament, I don't rate it. You got Maguire at the back. It's not promising. So I'm going to go for England 3-1. And the second one, and I'm just seeing this now, is France versus Poland, which would mean they face England. Oh, man. Might have to go for Poland with this one. Nah, I'm joking. I wish, but Poland haven't looked good this tournament. They've not looked great. Lewandowski's been a bit off it. Even though he's scored, he's missed a couple sitters. And France, even though they've got injuries to some of their best players, they're still probably the second best team on paper. And they've got the best player in the world at the moment. So, I mean, you can't really look past France. And I reckon it'll be an easy one. I reckon it could be a 3-0, maybe a 4-1 kind of sort of scoreline. So, yeah, France will easily go through this one, which means England versus France. So at this point, we've got the US versus Argentina, Japan versus Brazil. That's an interesting side. If one of these underdogs can pull through. For the last side of the draw, we've got Morocco versus Spain. This is hard, actually, because Spain were looking good, but then they've just, all this passing is good. And when you have players that they have, it's promising and the future's bright because they've got a lot of youngsters. But Morocco have looked really good. Morocco have looked very good. And I think the fact that they topped their group with Croatia and Belgium, and they've got strong players. They've got strong fullbacks. They've got Mazraoui, Hakimi, Aguerd, or however you say his name, the centre-back for West Ham. Good goalkeeper, good striker. They got some creative players. They've obviously got Ziyech. It could be an interesting one. I think Spain might just pip. I reckon 2-1 Spain. But it could go to penalties and it could go either way. Maybe Morocco could sneak in a win. And I would love to see it, but I do think Spain will have a bit too much for them. And that means Portugal versus Switzerland is the last game in the round of 16. Portugal, even though they've got such a good team, they got, on paper, top 4 teams in the tournament. And Switzerland, they're like a tournament team, aren't they? They seem to just do really well in tournaments. I swear it's 5 tournaments, the World Cup and the Euros in a row, that they've made it through the group stage. And obviously the last Euros, they beat France when they were the favourites. I'm back in Portugal because I love Ronaldo. I want Ronaldo to do bits. I would love Ronaldo versus Messi in the final. Switzerland came above Serbia in the group, and Portugal finished below Serbia in the qualifiers for the World Cup. So there's a lot there that you can see Switzerland can win, and I definitely see Switzerland beating Portugal. But for this one, I'm going to go for Portugal 1-0. They're quite a boring team. They like to hold teams, just 1-0s, 2-1s kind of thing. And I can see them winning 1-0, probably a Bruno Fernandes penalty, or if Ronaldo's playing, it'll be a Ronaldo penalty. And that's it, which would mean these are my quarterfinals, and this looks tasty, man. Look at this side, though. This side is good. I'm going to quickly go through these ones now because this isn't obviously where we are at. The quarterfinals, I will go for Argentina against the US. The second, I will go for Brazil. Japan, the love story at this World Cup. It's been fun. I would love you to go through, but you're against Brazil. I mean, at this point, it's just hard to say, really. But I will just pick Brazil for this one. And then the second side, England versus France. I mean, France are missing a few good players. You got Benzema out. You got Pogba out. You've got Kante out. You've got so many good players out. But even then, bro, their team is just quality. And they've actually shown they're not really fazed by this World Cup curse, which seems to be a thing for teams. And I think they'll beat us. 3-2 France. I'll go for France 3-2. Our defence won't be good enough, and yeah, they'll just beat us. Spain versus Portugal. I mean, Spain have been a bit shaky. They play probably the best football in the World Cup in terms of, like, maybe not the best football, but they play some of the nicest football, and they're very well organised. They've got one of the best managers. And Portugal are just very boring, but they can just grind out results. And I'm going to go Portugal. I think they could do it, and that would be interesting because I don't know when the last time Portugal made the semis, and that would also mean Messi's at the semis and Ronaldo's in the semis. But will Messi make it past the semis? I don't think he will. I think Brazil will beat Argentina, and I think France will beat Portugal, and that would make one tasty final, man. If the France team was fully healthy, I think they could actually do it. I think they could beat Brazil because they're quite weak on the left back and right back positions, but they're missing a lot of good players. So I'm going to go for Brazil. Brazil are winning the World Cup based off what I've seen from the last 16. But obviously, if other teams go through, I'm going to predict it differently. And then if sort of results happen, this and that, maybe it'll change. But yeah, my round of 16 predictions are here. A few surprises, but I think at this World Cup is to be expected with what's happened. But yeah, hopefully enjoyed, and I'll see you for the quarterfinals. Peace.